Morning friends, today's lecture is on the muscles of back. In this particular lecture, I have divided this total topic into two parts due to its big length and some muscles to be crammed up, origin insertion and nerve supply, etc. So in this particular lecture, what we are going to study is, first of all, if we are going to start from the back of the body, what are the things we are going to see, like skin and fascia, and then muscles. So here the muscles are arranged typically in certain layers, superficial layer, intermediate layer, and deep layer. Superficial layer is the outermost just below the superficial fascia or deep fascia, you can say here, and they are specifically connected with the appendages, especially pectoral girdle. Then the second layer are thin muscles, two in number only. They are especially attached to the ribs. And next comes the deepest layer, which is also known as true muscles of the back, due to its important function, or because they are totally lying inside the vertebral column and nearby bones. So let's start this topic one by one. So part one we are going to start today. So most of the clinical disorders of back which are present as low back pain with or without associated with the lower limb pain. So most of us when we go our main concern for the back is actually only the pain, and so the anatomy of lower back pain is more important. In this section we are going to talk about back that include whole of the posterior aspect of the trunk and neck. So in totality, we are going to talk, and then on the region wise, we are going to divide it in subdivisions for the ease of study only. So the top soft tissues of the back of the trunk and neck include skin, subcutaneous fat, and underlying facial muscles, and ultimately the musculature. The deep true or apexial muscle lie within the compartments of their own facial skeleton. So in this particular topic, we have to give also concern to the vertebrae, but right now we are only concentrating on the muscles. In some other lecture, I will talk about the vertebrae and the other bony structures. Let's see one small demonstration first of all, where what we are going to talk about. So you can see here we are going to talk about from this point, that is starting off the neck region to the sacrum point, or you can say the lumbar five. This whole thing is going to be covered in the topic known as back here. Next, you can see certain bones are present. So this is the back of scapula, posterior surface of scapula. Then these are the spines of different vertebrae: the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and pubic. The shape and direction of vertebrae is going to change. We will discuss it in next other way. Next, you can see certain things which are coming out from in the 90 degree. These are transverse processes. These are transverse processes. Again, there will be of different types in different vertebrae. These are the posterior surface of the hip bone. This is iliac, then pubis, then ischium, okay, sacrum. Then you can see certain yellow color things which are coming out from this vertebral column. So this particular vertebral column contains spinal cord, and then they contain spinal nerve. These are small parts which are shown here are dorsal rami of spinal nerve, and one will be the longer one which will go to the anterior surface of the body, that will be known as ventral rami of the spinal nerve. So these are certain things which you have to keep in mind. Again, I want to show you one small demonstration of one vertebrae actually, so that further you get more specific knowledge about it. So you can see here, this is one of the vertebrae. Today we are not going to talk about which particular, but simple parts here only we are going to talk. So if I am going to show you like this particular thing is the body of vertebrae. Then these two things are transverse processes, and the longer one which is going downside, if it's placed in an orbital position, this is an orbital, this is anterior, this is posterior, this is spinous process. So keeping these all things in mind, we have to talk about the further details what we are going to see today. So first of all, when we go towards the back side, we see the skin. Skin of back is thick and highly protective, but has low discriminatory sensations. The superficial fascia is thick and fatty in most of the areas. The attachment to the deeper facial layers is strong in midline, especially in neck, but becomes weaker more laterally. So these are general features which are actually differentiated on the basis of quantity, texture, and distribution of hair, varying with the sex, race, and individual through well-defined hair tracts. So in this skin portion, just the thing which we have to remember is that it is little bit fat than other places. Next comes its cutaneous innervations and dermatomes. The cutaneous means the skin. So the nerves which are supplying skin will be known as cutaneous innervation, and dermatomes is the patch of skin which is supplied by a single spinal nerve. So here you can see the skin of back of neck and trunk is innervated by dorsal, that is posterior primary rami, what I have shown you in the model, rami of spinal nerve. In cervical and thoracic region down to T6, skin is supplied by medial branches of these rami, while in lower parts it is supplied by lateral branches. Now, most of the important thing which you have to remember here is the spinal nerves which are involved in supply C2 to C5, T2 to L3, S2 to S4, and COCX1. Now you can see there is a little bit gap between C6 and T1. So you might be remembering that from here C5, C6, C7, and T1 actually we form the brachial plexuses, and it gives supplies to the upper limb. That's why there is a little bit gap. It will be more clear in next diagram. There is about half a segment of overlap between the cutaneous strips. The strips supplied by dorsal rami do not correspond exactly to the served by ventral rami, but there is little bit difference. So the point to be remembered here is the third one. The spinal nerve involved are C2 to C5, T2 to L3, S2 to S4, and COCX1. You can see the diagram. There is some overlapping also, and secondly, the basically C4, C5, C6, T1, and all are going towards your hand side or upper limb side. Next, the layer comes about facial layers. So facial layers here are too many. Like you can see the names here. The main facial layers in the axial and paraxial areas are thoracolumbar, deep cervical fascia, prevertebral, endothoracic, retroperitoneal, and posterior part of pelvic fascia. The last four, that is prevertebral, endothoracic, retroperitoneal, and posterior part of pelvic fascia, are collectively known as prevertebral plane. There are many other important fascia also which are covering the different muscles like fascia of ligamentum nuchae and the aponeurosis of erector spinae. What in this topic we are going to discuss in detail is thoracolumbar fascia. As the name suggests, thoracolumbar means it is the fascia which is found in thoracic as well as lumbar part of posterior side of the body. Remember, we are talking about back of the body. So these are going to cover all the muscles of the trunk region on the back side. And due to its big length, you can see we are talking about very big area. This whole area we are talking about. So this big length we have to divide it on the basis of regions. So above passes anterior to serratus posterior superior and is continuous with superficial lamina of deep cervical fascia. Serratus posterior superior is one of the muscle of the back of intermediate compartment. Next, in thoracic region, it provides a thin fibrous covering for extensor muscles of vertebral column and separates them from muscles connecting to the vertebral column to the upper extremity. It means it is dividing the layers of the muscles. The one which are connecting to the upper extremity will be the superficial muscle, and extensor muscles of vertebral column are the deep ones. So they are being separated in thoracic region with the help of thoracolumbar fascia. Now, the important part is in lumbar. It is divided into three compartments: posterior layer, middle layer, and anterior layer. The posterior layer is attached to the spines of lumbar and sacral vertebrae and to the supraspinous ligament. Likewise, the middle layer is attached to the tips of lumbar transverse process. I told you the transverse. Again, I am going to tell you this is spinous process, this is transverse process. Transverse process, these are transverse process. And intertransverse ligament below the iliac crest and above to the lower border of 12th rib. Next comes the anterior layer. It covers quadratus lumborum and is attached medially to the anterior surface of lumbar transverse process behind the lateral part of psoas major. So in lumbar region, it is divided into three parts and it covers three different compartments of the muscles also, which we are going to talk in detail when we are going to see the compartment-wise muscles. At sacral region, the posterior layer is attached to the posterior superior iliac spine and posterior iliac crest and fuses with the underlying erector spinae aponeurosis. So this thoracolumbar fascia is at the neck region has some different layers. Thoracic region again different, lumbar different. So we have to talk about its detail. You can see this diagram. They are showing certain compartments of the muscle. You can see the layer 1, 2, 3 in blue boxes. This is anterior layer, this is medial layer, this is posterior layer. So anterior layer and medial layer, in between them there are certain muscles, and then in posterior layer there are certain other group of muscles. You can see quadratus lumborum is here, psoas major is here, then obliques are here, which are the parts of anterior opinal wall. Serratus posterior inferior, this is the intermediate layer. Latissimus dorsi, the superficial one. So the basically maximum thing which are corrected here are erector spinae, which are totally inside the thoracolumbar fascia. Here in this diagram, part B, you can see this is trapezius, last hand is lateral, and this silver color thing which is shown here, it is totally the thoracolumbar fascia, which is covering many of the muscles which are below to it. The posterior and medial layer of thoracolumbar fascia and vertebral column together forms a compartment known as osteophyseal compartment, which encloses erector spinae muscle group. Very important, erector spinae muscle group, which helps in erection of the vertebral column, also known as true muscles of the back. The attachment of fascia, especially those which gives it continuity with abdominal wall musculature, give an important role in lifting, though the exact detail of role remain controversial. So with the help of abdominal wall muscles and this compartment, they are going to help you in lifting. The fascia also plays important role in load transfer between the trunk and limbs. Its tension is affected by action of latissimus dorsi, gluteus maximus, and hemisphere. It means these three muscles are also going to help in the lifting posture. And erector spinae compartment syndrome may be one of the cause of low back pain. So if some inflammation occurs in this point, some pull, some sprain occurs in erector spinae, the whole compartment is going to work together or will become the pathology for the low back pain. Now comes the main topic, that is muscles. The musculature of back is arranged in a series of layers which only the deeper or true intrinsic back muscles. Now, there is certain point. What does intrinsic means? The intrinsic means the muscles which are starting in same compartment and ending in there also. Like the muscles of origin and insertion both in same compartment or same layer. Then extensive will be one of the end will be on the talking by here it will be on vertebral column, and the other end will be some other parts like the superficial layer, where one end is on the pectoral girdle and other end is on the vertebral column. So that will become extensive. So the true muscles of back are characterized by their position by the innervation of branches of posterior dorsal rami of spinal nerve. The true muscles of back below the neck lie deep to the posterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia. In lumbar region, where the layers of thoracolumbar fascia are well defined, they occupy the compartment between middle and posterior layers. Lying superficial to the true intrinsic muscles, they are intrinsic or immigrant muscles. Immigrant means which are coming from somewhere else. So, if we are talking about the neck region, it will be just below to the posterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia. But specifically, if we are talking about lumbar region, then this particular intrinsic group will lie in between the posterior and medial layer of thoracolumbar fascia. You have to remember this point. In posterior and middle layer lies the of thoracolumbar fascia lies the true muscles of the back. Now we'll see some names of the muscles, like the most superficial of them run between the upper limb and the axial skeleton. Axial skeleton, you can more typically say pelvic area, and consists of trapezius, latissimus dorsi, levator scapulae, rhomboids major and minor. Here it is written rhomboids muscle connects the both of them. Just below to it, there is a medial layer or intermediate layer. There are two muscles, serratus posterior group, superior and inferior, which are variably developed but usually thin muscles which function as an respiratory or possibly proprioceptive muscles. So these are going to help in the respiration process, especially in deep one. So all these two groups were the extensive muscles and were innervated by ventral rami of spinal nerve. Next comes the intrinsic group or true group. It itself is divided into three parts. The more superficial layer contains splenius group in the neck and upper thorax, and erector spinae group in the trunk as a whole. In deeper layer, it includes transverse group, which itself is laid into three parts: semispinalis, multifidus, and rotators, and suboccipital muscle. Deepest are the smallest muscles, which are interspinal and intertransverse muscle. So this is the layering. So first of all, when you remove the skin, you will get the fascia, that is thoracolumbar fascia. Then you go more deeper to it, you will get the more superficial layer, that is first layer, connected with the pectoral girdle. Removal of that, you are going to get the two small muscles, thin muscles, rectus group. Then you reach to the intrinsic muscles, which are contained in three compartments. And on the region wise, you're going to get some different muscles with different names. So more superficial or superficial, deeper and deepest. This is the total series what we have to study in this lecture. Here in this particular diagram, you are going to see ribs are there. This is the vertebral column. Then you can see the deepest group or intrinsic group of muscles is shown here. You can see splenius capitis. Splenius capitis means one of the end is going to attach on capitis, that is caput, that is occiput of the skull. Cervicis means in the neck region. Thoracic means the thorax region. The erector spinalis group itself is has three muscles: iliocostalis, longissimus, and spinalis. And on the basis of region, again you can see three different names for each muscle. Like I am going to take the example of longissimus. You can see longissimus thoracic. Then you're going to see longissimus cervicis. Then you can see longissimus capitis. Likewise for iliocostalis. Little bit difference is there if you are going to talk in detail. You can see this is the iliac crest of hip bone. From there also some muscles are rising. This is the sacrum and mixed part. It is the erector spinae aponeurosis total what is in white color. So this whole thing we can talk about the erector spinae group. If next one. Before starting the muscles, we have to understand one ligament is there known as ligamentum nuchae. This particular ligament is not a ligament of neck, for it does not connect adjacent bones and lacks the internal structure typical of the ligament. So what does it actually have? It has a dorsal raphe and a median septal portion. The dorsal raphe rises superficially along the posterior midline of the neck. It is attached to EOP, that is external occipital protuberance, superiorly, and the tip of C7 spinous process inferiorly. It means from EOP to C7 it is going to lie down. Because of the longitudinal arrangement, the tendons have been described as following the funicular portion of ligamentum nuchae. In its inferior half, the funicular portion is joined by oblique oriented tendons of splenius capitis and rhomboid minor. So some muscles are also going to be attached here. And in next slides, we are going to see that many muscles are actually having origin from this particular point. You can see the diagram. This is EOP. This is spinous process of C7. In between them, there is a specific arrangement known as ligamentum nuchae. In this particular diagram, also you can see same thing, nuchal ligament, which is lying in totality in the middle of the things. So it is C7 point and it is will be the EOP. Then certain muscles are also helping it down, like splenius capitis. You can see the muscles are giving the support to it, tendon, and then some part of other muscles also going to help it out. From the ventral surface of dorsal raphe, a median facial septum extends deeply towards the vertebral column and separates semispinalis capitis from its opposite partner. The median continuation of septum reaches to the tip of cervical spinous process and it extends into cervical interspinous space as far as ligamentum flavum. At the upper cervical level, the septum is attached to the external occipital crest and posterior tubercle of atlas and blends with posterior altento-occipital and posterior altento-axial membranes. So this is the total description of ligamentum nuchae. Again, you can see here, this particular line is known as ligamentum nuchae and it is continuous also. Now comes the first group. In this particular part, we are only going to deal with superficial group of the muscles, which normally we have already done when we were talking about upper limb or pectoral girdle. So just a revision type of thing is here. The muscles in superficial group are immediately deep to the skin and superficial fascia. They are attached to the superficial part of appendicular skeleton like clavicle, scapula, humerus, to the axial skeleton, skull, ribs, and vertebral column. Because these muscles are primarily involved in the movement of this part of appendicular skeleton, Sometimes they are also referred as appendicular group of back muscles. Remember, appendicular group of back muscles. So I have only given in the chart format. It will be easy for the remembrance also. First, it is trapezius. The origin is from superior knuckle line, external occipital protuberance. The whole of ligamentum nuchae. Remember, ligamentum nuchae is from external occipital protuberance to spinous process of C7, and then from the spinous process of C7 to T12. So there is very big origin here. Starting from superior knuckle line to T12 means covers total of cervical region and the thoracic region as well as. Where it is going to get inserted? Lateral one third of clavicle, acromion and spinous process, spine of scapula. It is innervated by accessory cranial nerve, that is 11th cranial nerve. Remember, only two muscles are being supplied directly by the cranial nerve. One of them is trapezius, other is sternocleidomastoid, and proprioceptors are going to receive from C3 and C4. It assists in rotation of scapula during abduction of humerus. Above horizontal and upper fiber elevates, middle fibers abduct, and lower fiber depress the scapula. So this very muscle is very good for actually the short question also separately also. Then comes the latissimus dorsi. It starts from spinous process of T7 to L5 and sacrum, iliac crest. Also some part is coming from this 10 to 12. It is going to get inserted into the intertubercular sulcus of humerus. You might be remembering the mnemonic lady between two majors in the thing. So there was pectoris major, teres major, and in between there is latissimus dorsi. It is innervated by one of the nerve of the brachial plexus, thoracodorsal nerve C6 to C8. It helps in extension, abduction, and medially rotation of the humerus. So these two you can simply see here. So this covers the latissimus dorsi part. It goes from here to here. I will show the diagram also. And the upper part is trapezius. Upper part is trapezius. Next is latissimus dorsi. After that, levator scapulae. As the name suggests, it is going to levate the scapula, elevate the scapula. So this particular action will be done by the levator scapulae. The transverse process of C7 to C4. Remember, transverse process again and again I am telling you, if this is the vertebrae, these are transverse process which are in 90 degree to the spinous process. They are going to be inserted on the upper portion of the medial border of the scapula. The nerve supplies dorsal scapular nerve. It, as the name suggests, elevates the scapula. Then is the rhomboid group. There are two in number, rhomboid major and rhomboid minor. Major is going to start from spinous process of T2 to T5, gets inserted into the medial border of the scapula between the spine and inferior angle. Supplied with the same nerve which was supplying the levator scapulae, dorsal scapular nerve, it adducts and elevates the scapula. Rhomboid minor, as the name suggests, this is little smaller one. Lower portion of ligamentum nuchae and spinous process are the origin point, especially T7 to T1. Gets inserted just medial border of scapula at the spine of the scapula. Nerve supply same, dorsal scapular nerve. Action is also same, adduction, that is retraction and elevation of scapula. So in this particular chart, you can see last three muscles are being supplied by the same nerve, dorsal scapular nerve, and they basically are coming from the part which is just adjacent to the scapula. Action you can see all are elevating the scapula, last three one, and last two rhomboid are also adducting it. The special case one are here are trapezius and latissimus dorsi, which you have to give little more importance here to learn them. You can see this particular diagram. This whole thing you can see starting from here to here. This whole thing is trapezius muscle, very big muscle, very bulky also, and this is latissimus dorsi, which is going to insert in the bicipital group of the humerus. This particular layer is obliquus capitis, inferior muscle, that is scapulae muscle, levator scapulae. Then there are rhomboid muscles, rhomboid minor, and rhomboid major is also there. You can see from here. Major is down, minor is up here. So this is the total detail of the superficial group of the muscle. So in this particular lecture, we have seen the skin, we have seen the thoracolumbar fascia in very summarized manner, and this division. Then we have seen ligamentum nuclei and the superficial group of the muscle. In the next lecture, I am going to continue with the intermediate compartment and the deepest compartment, which is true muscles of the back.